George Foreman, Muhammad Ali. I mean, I look at the best. I get tapes of them kicking. I look at guys like Bruce Lee, taping their stuff. I remember on old VCRs, I used to play those 4 movies, over and over again just to see how he did it. Believe it or not, when I was very young, and this is really dating myself, unfortunately. Remember a show called Kung Fu with David Carradine?
Sorry, that's what Bruce Lee was supposed to get that role.
When I was, I don't know. The show was in the 70s. I was very young. Let's just say I was 12, 13.
Yeah.
I didn't understand those spinning kicks, I'm like, how the hell do they do that, And I'll never forget it. It was an episode of Kung Fu. If you know something about Kung Fu, that the slowed down motion photography was like groundbreaking for that show. So they used to do fights in slow motion on that show. So it was one of the times where they were practicing in the Shaolin Temple. And one of the monks did a spinning crescent kick. And that's for the first time I saw his body move before his leg ever did. And that's when I understood that like a light bulb went on in my head. Like, that's how you do it, And when you're a kid, that's so exciting. So, I had a heavy bag downstairs. I went down in the basement and I started practicing. And then the next thing you know, I'm doing spinning kicks left and right.
So that show is what opened it up for you. That's amazing.
That kick. That spinning kick. Truly, I started boring.
Right.
I started like so many millions of guys did. I went to a drive-in movie. You don't see many of them anymore. With my parents, I was in the back seat of the car, and we were watching like a double feature or a triple feature of Kung Fu movies. I can still remember it was Fist of Fury was the main attraction.
That's crazy.
And I fell in love with the whole thing.
Absolutely.
It was like, wow. And I still remember it was one of those afternoon Kung Fu theater flicks. It was one of them too. I still remember the one it was, but I don't remember what it was called. Like I could identify it, but God knows what it was called. But it was a double feature, and from that moment on, I was like 8 years old. I was like, wow, I just got to do that. So Bruce Lee got, like he did to so many people.
Me too.
He got everybody in there. Because he had that energy, that charisma, that he just wanted to do what this guy was doing. So that's how it started. Boring, like everybody else.
I don't think that's boring at all. Matt from Warrior, I'm with Dan Fischer. Just came back from this really interesting, what he calls MMA engineering.
Engineered MMA.
Sorry, sir. Engineered MMA class, where he's taking it from a unique perspective. And I just want to go over his entire martial arts background and how he actually started getting leg locks and stuff. So we just said, like, you basically got most of your influence from watching old school, drive-in movie theaters of Kung Fu.
Bruce Lee, yeah. I started like a lot of people. It just gets you so interested in it, and then you start learning. But I mean, my parents didn't have a lot of money at the time. They couldn't send me to school, so I started learning on my own. I started doing a whole bunch of things on my own. Workouts downstairs, watching movies, learning how to do kicks. That's what it was all about. Until I could finally join a school when I was like 15.
So you saw when you're 8, you just practice on your own. Then 15, you actually go to a place.
Yeah, but by the time I actually went, I could spar fully. I was already in the school. I could outspar anybody. It didn't matter who they were because I knew how to fight. So I walked in as a white belt, and they kind of had a problem because I knew how to fight really well. So when you put me out there sparring, I had to learn all of that, the katas and all that stuff. But let's face it. I mean, you don't really use that when you fight.
Yeah, you don't.
So. But the fighting, the sparring aspect, they gave me my black belt. I had to be inside of a year and a half. It was quick.
Oh, that is a really quick black belt. And you were Taekwondo, right? You started with Taekwondo? And were you like a Tang Sudo, or was it straight Taekwondo?
It was straight Taekwondo at the time. And I had to learn something like 16 forms. I don't even remember. Wow. I couldn't even do them anymore.
Wow.
But I did learn all the forms, I was their kicking specialist. Board breaking, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So we used to go to seminars at Middlesex County College. Sometimes we did a seminar. Do all those kind of kicks and crazy board breaks and stuff like that.
Any of your favorite, what were some of your favorite kicks to go do some tricks to board break?
I did a really good jump spin back kick. I had some big meaty guys holding for me. So I went through, and this is right at Middlesex County College. I did it in front of a whole bunch of college kids. It's a shame I don't have this on video because everybody videos everything.
Yeah, right.
This was back in like 81 maybe, So I jump spin back kick through 4 boards. So I had 2 big guys holding and 1 big guy holding in, and I just caught it right in the center, It was great. It was one of my favorite kicks. And then I used to jump straight up. I had a guy stand on a chair, and and just put a board like that and jump through it.
Wow, one's aerial kicks, right?
And another favorite was spinning heel kick. Remember I told you I learned that spinning heel kick just from watching Kung Fu in slow motion. I understood it. So I took to that, and I do a speed break with a spinning heel kick. That was one of my favorites too.
It's a very hard kick to pull off.
Not that hard, I don't think. But I mean, listen, it felt, I used to be able to do it like, you know, like that.
Did you pull it off in sparring when you would kickbox and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
See, for me, like, you know, I could do it when it's not under stress, but I keep it simple more to what I think is more effective for me. Because, you know.
Do you set it up?
Well, if I do spin, I will set it up. I don't like just throwing it, you know, being a hook or jab, make somebody walk a certain way. But
and that's how it works.
But as a whole, I don't do it because it's not something I practice.
But see, for some weird reason, I was good with it with my left leg, not my right leg.
Whoa, interesting.
So I had a good heel kick.
Yeah.
So it was like a round kick, but the heel comes across. That was one of my favorite kicks. It's actually one of Greg's favorite kicks too.
Right.
So we discussed that when we first met, and we loved that kick. You know, we had a good, just as a front kick. You know, you just spin the heel around, come up next to the body, and then cut it across the chin.
Right.
So when you hit this way and then you spin this way, that's what screws people up.
Oh, so instead of a question mark kick, you're almost going like that.
Yeah, I'm coming up this way and the heel comes across. And that was one of my favorite kicks too.
You barely see that anymore.
You don't see it coming because it comes up your guard this way, and it pushes your hand down like this.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think maybe I saw that in PKA, like Rick Rufus, like years ago.
Every once in a blue moon, you'll see an MMA guy do it, like a good kicker, like Adesanya.
Yeah, he's good.
Real good kickers can do it and get away with it. There's a few guys, I've seen it a couple of times, but it's rare.
Yeah, no, that's rare. So, how long did you do Taekwondo before you did something else? Did you do boxing next, or was it straight to grappling?
I was kind of restless. For me, it was always finding the holy grail of being the best one-on-one fighter you could be.
Right.
That's always what it was about. I didn't like gi stuff even when I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, I did it, but it just wasn't there for me. You know, I was like, I respect anybody who does it. Right. I respect judo, but let's face it, when you take the gi off, judo, like you lose 60-70% of your techniques are gone.
I agree with that as well. Unless you're going to go on a time machine and you're wearing a gi, or you got a jacket, maybe in the club you got a jacket, a lot of the lapel chokes aren't going to work.
Very good point. I mean, look, let's face it, if you know how to do it, you can choke someone with attention.
Yeah, you could.
You know, but you got to know how to do it. You got to roll up the shirt. You got to grab it. You got to make it thicker.
But say I'm a gi guy all my life, and you're, of course, you're no gi, right? And me and you grapple. We're on the same level, and you're the same level. You know, a lot of stuff that I'm going to do is going to be null and void, shut down. I'm going to have a lot harder time trying to get that off when you're very skilled already, what you said.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know how it gets. Kind of after purple belt, it becomes so many more gi chokes and ways to grab the gi. It gets confusing.
Right.
You know, even I don't feel like following after that.
So you basically, did you wrestle? You must have wrestled before, obviously.
I wrestled when I was very young.
Okay.
And the school, I went to school in Rhode Island, and they had no idea how to wrestle. Now, I didn't know that until I moved to New Jersey and I moved to Jackson.
Oh, that's.
And I saw what real wrestling was.
Right.
And realized that I was no match for these wrestlers, you know?
Right.
But I didn't wrestle. I just didn't wrestle in high school. I went to St. Joe's in Metuchen.
Wow.
There was no late bus. Wow. My parents couldn't afford to pick me up because they had to both work.
Wow.
So I just came home. I didn't go to sports.
So what made you so good at this catch wrestling thing? With such a little wrestling experience?
Well, it just kind of evolved, you know. I mean, you asked me how long I was into Taekwondo. I was into Taekwondo. Then I went to boxing. I was big into boxing.
Yeah, let's go in order. So you go right to boxing.
Right to boxing. Then it was kickboxing. You know, I loved kickboxing. I loved it. I loved it all. And then Muay Thai. I loved that. And then I got into pressure point work. Now, believe it or not, George Dillman, before he became...
Sorry, say that.
George Dillman?
Dillman.
Before he became insane.
Okay.
With that no knockout, or no touch knockout.
Yeah,
He really, it's a shame because he really does know a lot of accurate pressure point work when you touch. Okay, so it was a good lessons from him I got as far as actually finding where pressure points were. That helped me later on when grappling came around because you could find pressure points when you're fighting with somebody, a stand-up fight, but you can find them even easier when you can get your hands on something.
Absolutely.
So that came back to help in a large way. So after that, Muay Thai, pressure point work, a little bit of judo, then the MMA. That's when '93 happened, and I watched Royce Gracie, who was my second hero. It was Bruce Lee. Like if I could get a T-shirt, it would be Bruce Lee and Royce. Because those two guys had the biggest influences on me, and change-wise. Regardless of where they are now or what they're doing now, and any of the Gracie combat, it doesn't matter. Royce put it on the map, and he made it big for me. It was amazing to see this guy do what he did, and to ignore that was just stupid.
Absolutely.
And again, my goal was always to find the best ways to fight somebody one-on-one. So right away, I went to 2 or 3 seminars with Royce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where is it? Was it New York, right? Or was it New Jersey?
There was one in Atlantic City. I think it was Resorts. There was one in Maxercise in Philadelphia, which was a jiu-jitsu school run by Steve Maxwell. He was a student of the Gracies.
Oh, wow.
Don't know. And actually, the Miguel Reese brothers started there as well. Phil and Ricky have basically their own school now. They went off to Balance. That's the name of their school now, and they still do it. I've seen Ricky, as a matter of fact, in my MMA fighter's last fight. He was in the other guy's corner.
Oh, wow.
I was like, holy cow, Ricky, how you been, man?
That's
I
crazy.
haven't seen him in years. He's a big dude now. He was a little kid when I knew him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, always a real nice guy. But, let's face it, you see that stuff and you want to learn it. So I did everything I could to learn it.
Wow.
And I started becoming more proficient in it. I started branching off away from the gi. And just like I did with everything else, I used to bring it home and just break it down in my own lab, in my own mind. And I used to practice my own things and start making up my own moves.
How would you had a friend you were practicing on at home, or how would you do the...
No, I would have to go to schools. I would teach a lot of people. I need hands-on. I had early students who would, be my partners, and Eddie Cruz is a good friend of mine.
Oh my, yeah, I know. Oh wow, Eddie Cruz.
He was
awesome.
like one of my first students and best students.
Wow, cool.
He actually now is a Henzo black belt.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But he started with me, and we did all this stuff together.
So at what point did you get into this leg lock part of the game?
I was in the leg locks early on.
Because he really was one of the earlier guys messing with it, definitely.
Yeah, I did it early on. As a matter of fact, when I went to exercise, they used to call me the leg locker. Because,
leg locker, wow.
Yeah, because when I wanted to get out of a bad situation, I would go to the legs. But I will tell you this, I'm a big advocate of doing things you don't know as well. So I knew the leg locks were there for me. So I would work from the waist up to learn that game too.
Wow.
And I'd only pull out the leg locks if I had to. But the leg locks, I started getting better and better with them. And, go on, Mike, take care of it. Take it off?
I'll say about it.
Yeah, so the leg locks got better and better and better, and I come up with things that different. They're just different.
Did you do it because you're like, hey, nobody's kind of doing it in this way, or did you see someone do a leg lock and you're like, let me make my own?
Don't get me wrong, I've seen people do leg locks. It's just that I thought it was like the great untapped area, because you only see, even today, there's only a handful of guys who are really using leg locks to their advantage. Only the guys who really, really know it, like Ryan Hall comes to mind.
Yeah, he's really good.
Marcin Held
from
Bellator. Not still, though. I mean, you would think there would be tons of guys really understanding and learning leg locks. But man, no, they're not. And I said 15 years ago, I'm like, man, this is like the great untapped territory.
Exactly, it was.
And then all of a sudden, you see the explosion of leg locks, and in the Gracie camp, Danaher, he's a real Renaissance kind of guy, and he started getting into it and developing. And this Craig Jones, he's developing it, and all of a sudden, it's like coming back again, but still hasn't crossed over into mainstream MMA.
No, and it's very, well, in jiu-jitsu, it's a very high level, and MMA is always slightly behind, I would say.
To be honest with you, in jiu-jitsu, a lot of the Brazilians are not very good at it. They know the basics. They know knee bars, they know foot locks. But getting into the more intricate leg locks is still not their cup of tea. So you didn't see a lot of leg locks in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
So would you say it's less traditional leg locks to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Definitely.
That's interesting.
I mean, come on. They even would come and teach it. Not only did they not know it that well at the time, But they said, insurance purposes, we don't want to get people getting hurt in their knees, and you know, they didn't want anybody to do it.
Wow.
So it was a double win for them because they didn't really know it that well, and they said, let's not do it.
Oh, that's amazing. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, that was back in the day. Look, I've been doing this since the mid-90s, so, you know, it goes back a ways. But that was always the way you were told, like, just don't do them. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the old traditional Brazilian guard, they didn't respect that either.
Right, that was dirty. It was dirty.
It was like not fair play. But to me, again, remember the goal. Just be the best you can. If a leg lock finishes somebody, I don't care.
Yeah.
Then that's great, you know?
Right.
If you catch me in a leg lock, God bless, man, that's awesome, you know? I want to see, I want to know what it was. What did you catch me? I want to make sure I can do it.
Right.
Just learn from everywhere and every place.
Right.
Everybody does something good. Even some white belt, he does one move that nobody doesn't do right. You know, like he's got his own move.
Yeah.
There's something to learn from almost everybody. Sure. You know, we haven't spent much time together, but I'm sure there's something. If we got on the mat and started training together, there would be something you do that I'd be like, all right, I like that, you know?
Cool,
and I'd exploit it, and I'd steal it from you, you know? And I'd make something even better out of it.
Right.
But it has a lot to do, my style has a lot to do with a lot of stalemated positions. You know, like I showed you one today, like that Kimura from half guard. It's a stalemated position. Nobody does anything, you know? I'll tell you what, I'll demonstrate one right now. I'm going to show you key lock in a stalemated position. You want to see this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm laying down.
Put your head here, All right, this is classic, all right? Now, this is a classic key lock, right?
Right.
Piece of cake, right? Did that last week. Yeah. So, if you stop me from doing this, you're gonna reach over your body, you can grab your hand, right?
Right.
Usually get a good grab, right there, good, okay? So now, you've in a sense stopped the key lock, right? I can't do it, right? But what's holding me, and we're holding you, on your back right now?
Your elbow? Your elbow's poked?
Me.
Oh yeah, of course.
So watch, if I take my weight off of you, what happens to your arm?
It goes this way.
But you're still holding on, right?
Yes.
So now I'm going to take this knee, I'm going to put it in the center of your back. I'm going to take this leg and I'm going to bring it around here.
Oh, damn.
So now what was a stalemated position just became a nice attack for me. So once you grab your hand, you and everybody else feel safe. So look, once I get you here and you get a good grip on that hand, now here, this is how they're going to do it. They're going to grab across in a nice gable grip. That's what they always do.
Right.
It's not a gable grip, but it's a good grip. So right here, you're like, you know what, Dan? I'm safe. You're going to have to let go. And guess what? That's what happens. That's what happens. But this is that stalemated position I'm talking about. There are tons of these type of positions. Okay? So now, what if we could make this more dangerous? What if we could turn this stalemated position into an attack for me? And that's when I came up with this. Look, I just take my weight off of you, and you roll, because you don't have any stability.
Right.
Side to side, right? Both your hands are up. You're on your side, right? So now I'm going to keep you on your side.
Right. I'm trapped now. My hips are trapped.
And now this leg that I have all this weight off is going to come around, and it's going to just start back. And I'm not trying. Hold on. Try and hold on. Okay? Right here, and then I just sit into you.
Yeah. It's a killer. It's killer because you don't expect it. You just don't expect it.
Well, the reason why you don't expect it is because you're taught that that's safe. As soon as you go like this, you feel safe.
You're safe.
It's like the Kimura, right? Right? Once the guy grabs on like this, he's safe.
Yeah.
So what if you could do something with that? What if you could make a move out of that? But people don't often take the time to really break that down and go, okay, what can I do for you? That's what I did. I took the time to really think out a lot of these moves and come out with solutions that people just still are not using. I just showed you this move and that move. Did you ever see it before?
No.
Did you ever see guys in MMA using it?
No, sir. It's a lot of what ifs. You're like, what if this? And how much does your engineering background actually help, you think, with the pullers and levers?
I just think I have that kind of mind. I like to think things out, you know.
That's great.
I'm an engineer by trade, you know.
Right.
So I think I always enjoyed, when I was a kid, I enjoyed architecture and I enjoyed building and erector sets and all that kind of stuff.
You look at the human body when you're doing this kind of like that.
Yeah, you really do start to learn a lot about it. And I guess strength and material structures classes helped a lot because you understand moment arms and how to break things in torque, and you really start getting a good handle for it. And one of my students, he's an engineer, a real good kid, and one of my good students, he's a purple gear, and he's also a colleague of mine. He just became a full licensed engineer.
Oh wow!
So yeah, he's into it too. So it's funny. It's a way that you teach people.
That's
You
crazy.
engage people the way you think the best to be taught. As a good teacher, you want to do that.
Right.
So, the ways I teach him are different. I start bringing engineering into it, and he
Right, 'cause he
understands
clicks
it,
and
and
knows
it
it.
clicks with
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
So you can be a better teacher, and actually you become better at the moves, I think, in my opinion, when you teach them.
Right.
Because you may do them, but until you
yeah.
break them down for somebody to show them how it's done, you actually realize that you're actually becoming better at it also.
You analyze it from a different perspective.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, certainly some of them are different.
Right.
Everybody's got something, like I
Right.
said. Everybody's got something different up their sleeve. I'm no different. I got some different things that, like I said, you've been in this game for a long time. You ever see these things?
Yes, sir. I've seen things that look like that, but I've never seen it actually pulled off that way. Like that Darce. That's a Darce, but it's not exactly the same as a traditional Darce.
No, and it just has that little extra kick of leverage that doesn't use up your energy.
You mind if I ask you one more question? And I know I'm going to respect your time, sir, but so you were affiliated with Rhino for a while, right? You were a
Yeah, I was their
trainer,
coach.
You were the coach.
I
You were the
was-
main
I
coach?
was Rhino's coach. Rob Garino was the main coach. I taught Rob, and I taught the rest of the school.
Wow.
But Rob Garino ran the school. I showed up 3 times a week, whatever it was, and I taught the guys how to grapple. Back at a time when we had some really, really good guys, I mean, a lot of good guys went through the door at Rhino. I mean,
I only know a few. Chris Ligori, right? He was
Chris
one of them.
Ligori, Frankie Edgar, Jay
right.
Coleman.
Jay Coleman, right.
God, so many. I know I probably can't think of it, but look, Eddie Cruz, he was
I didn't know
shoe
that.
fighter. Gus Sanchez, Kevin Koza was a heavyweight that I taught. He was really good. Corrections officer, big, strong, powerful guy. There was so many. There was so many fighters. I mean, I can't even tell you. Oh, Tom Galicchio,
That sounds familiar.
Jeff Lentz,
I don't know that one.
both UFC guys. They've been George Sullivan.
Yes, I know George Sullivan.
I still train with
Right,
George to
right.
this day.
It's very
He's still
good.
current, and
Wow.
he's not in the UFC right now, but he still is a great fighter, great friend of mine, and he's something to mess with. And I can tell you right now, I've taught George how to hit for 10 years, and I still swear, if you ever see him hit, he hits harder than just about any human being you're going to find.
Whoa.
He can punch.
That's amazing.
Left hooks, overhand rights. I mean, he's just got so much power.
Whew.
Yeah, he can hit.
Amazing.
So I tell you, I could take you to the bag and get more out of you. I guarantee
Definitely, and I would love that.
Yeah.
So how long were you at Rhino? How long did Rhino, see the thing about Rhino is interesting to us is everyone has different stories about Rhino, what happened. Now, I'm a layman to most of it, and I'm learning more about it. Was Rhino originally here in this facility?
No.
Where was it?
No. Ryan was
Where
on
was it?
Manalocan Road.
Manalocan
in
Road.
Brick.
Okay.
I think it was the Manalocan Plaza. There's a Jersey Mike's in there.
Okay.
It's right down the road from a dance studio. I know this because my daughter was in that dance studio for a while. So, yeah, literally a block away. But that's where they were, right next to Dunkin' Donuts or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but we taught there. I first taught the Pitts Pen fighters. Chris Ligori, Mark Shop, a lot of these guys. There's a whole nother slew of guys from that era, from like 1999 to like, say,
wow.
2004. And then Pitts Pen kind of closed up, and Chris Ligori went to train with Rob and said, listen, can I bring my coach over? And, Rob said, sure, bring him over. And then I met Rob, and then I just started teaching everybody at Rhino for probably another 4 or 5 years. So
That's amazing.
yeah, that's how it happened.
Did you enjoy, like what was the vibe at Rhino? Were they all...
It was great, but, unfortunately you deal with these guys, they were kids still. Yes, sir. A lot of them weren't grown up. Like Chris and Frankie, Chris Ligori and Frankie Edgar, they had the mindset. They wanted more, they were hungry.
Right.
They put the work in, they were dead serious about it. There was, no screwing around for these two. So they made something of themselves. Of course, Frankie is a legend now. Of
course,
but this was back when Frankie wasn't even known.
Right.
I went to some of Frankie's fights that you wouldn't even know I was in his corner.
Wow, yeah.
And Chris too. And then, it just, unfortunately, the mentality wasn't serious enough. I think if Rob were a more mature at the time, and I bet you he'd admit this to this day, like if he really took the reins and was more mature, this would be like, you know, a Greg Jackson
I was just gonna
on
say
the
that.
East Coast, you know.
Is that
What
really,
a stable
it
of
was really
guys.
that good? Huh?
Oh yeah, there was one time we had a fight in Atlantic City. We had 7 guys on the
Sorry,
card.
say that again?
There was a fight in Atlantic City we had 7 guys on the card.
Whew.
Yeah, that was crazy. There was one in what's that college? Brookdale College.
Right.
We had like 5 fighters fight that one night, and we won 4 of them.
That's amazing. That's really good.
Yeah, it was crazy. Rhino was a good, really good team.
And it's weird.
But again, it wasn't up to me to keep everybody in line. You know, I just came in and taught who wanted to learn.
Right.
You know, so whatever happens in the school, if they went out partying or, you know, screwed around too much and weren't serious about it,
That's true.
that's what kids do. You know, that's what kids do.
So how long did it last? Was it?
It had to be a good 5 years, and then I know Rob came here, and he teamed up with Greg's dad. You know, Greg's dad, a real good guy. You know, me and Greg's dad hit it off. Like, it just, you know, we just hit it off, and he invited me here. And I met Greg and Greg's dad, and that's how I started training here. And then Rob was no longer. Greg started running the school, and he took over for his dad, and he's made a great school of this place. You know, he took it and ran with it. And I've been with Greg for what, 10 years now?
Well, it's longer than Rhino now.
Longer than Rhino, you know. And we have a small class here, but we don't care. You know, we're just fine. I'm going to teach whoever wants to learn.
Right.
I don't have this crazy Gracie name or Shamrock or anything like that.
No. But that's kind of what's cool about it, because like you said, there's, you can learn from this person, they have a unique thing, or that person have a unique thing. I almost think of these jiu-jitsu schools, they're almost like, because you watch the old 70s Kung Fu, right? Like, they have this style, they do slightly different. That's how jiu-jitsu's becoming. And it's almost become, in my opinion, it can be somewhat snobbish, because they'll be like, oh, this is the only way. Or oh, you're doing that, this is a weird thing, don't do that. Don't hold your leg, don't do this leg. Like, there's a lot of, you have to do it the Gracie way, or you have to do it this specific way. I like your way is very interesting, because this different perspective, and maybe not, maybe it's your engineering background, but when you look at your style, I know I'm not looking at something that's like a Gracie thing. I know I'm not looking at something like, this isn't a 10th planet thing.
No,
it is in itself something completely in itself. Different.
Yeah, it's different. It definitely is more like catch wrestling than jiu-jitsu, you know, but it's still different from that too. You know, I like to put my staple on a lot of moves that I've created. That I can, you know, listen, I'm more than happy to show these things, and you know, you don't see them.
Have you ever? What was your highest grappling thing that you ever like? You've done competitions, right?
Yeah, but don't forget, I'm older than most people who are doing this.
Yeah,
You know, so when this came around, I wanted to fight. Originally, I wanted to fight, but I was a little old for it, and I think I told you one of the heavyweights, Kevin, he started fighting, and I taught him, and he was beating everybody. And I'm like, okay, you fight so I don't have to. And he was killing everybody. At the time, he was 5-0. He was one of the best heavyweights on the East Coast at the time.
Crazy.
But life called on him too. He fell in love with somebody and got married and had triplets, and God, that's it.
Wow.
That was it for him, you know?
But yeah.
But a sweet guy, monster of a guy, powerful, very, very good. You know, listened to everything I said. And you know, he was very tough at the time. You did not want to mess with this guy.
That's amazing.
You still wouldn't mess with him.
Yeah,
I mean, I still see pictures of him on Facebook, but he's still an absolute monster. Like, if you met this guy, you'd be like, oh my God.
Crush my hand,
Yeah,
probably.
he's that kind of guy. He's just that kind of
He
guy.
wasn't like, tell me one of those, like when you were bouncing, right? You told me some good stories when you were a bouncer.
Yeah, well, the guys I bounced with were just
Well, hold on, let me
animals.
just start out like this. I said to you, you're a big guy to me, because I'm a small guy, and you're like, wait. You're like, when I was a bouncer, I was like a smaller guy.
Yeah,
And I was
it's
like,
my background. It's so hard. The guys that I knew were so big. One of my training partners, his name was Greg Boldazar. I haven't seen him in a while, but just a great guy. 6'3.5", 255 pounds, pretty much solid muscle. You know, you grapple with him. If he puts his chest on you, you might as well feel like you have a Volkswagen parked on you. I mean,
I
these
get
guys
killed.
are big.
Yeah.
The guys I bounced with, they were all just animals. I mean, Mark Tenidigan, he was my height, another 250 pounder, bodybuilder, 20-inch arms. You know, at the time, he was just a monster. And now he's the chief of police of South River.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
We used to bounce together in the South River pub. Now he's the chief of police of South River all these years later. And they wanted me on the police force at the time. I'm like, wow, maybe I should have took him up on that, you know?
Maybe we
Because me and him were partners. We were friends, you know? We bounced together for probably like 10 years together. And there was Chuck Jolly. It's kind of funny, his name is Jolly. Because he was an axe murderer. You had to break through that facade first. You would not want to mess with this guy in your worst nightmare. I mean, he looked like a killer. And he was very, very powerful too. I mean, another guy, my height, 250 pounds, bodybuilder,
right.
you know?
Was he the dude with the huge legs? That's some other guy.
No, there was Jerry. Jerry became a semi-famous wrestler.
That's the one, yeah.
He used to wrestle, the professional wrestler.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wrestled on
yeah.
the circuit, but Jerry was 6'8", 330 pounds. And just probably one of the strongest men I've ever met in my life. I mean, he was just ridiculous, you know. And for a guy that size, he had calves that were so huge that he wore these work boots and he couldn't even lace up his work boots because his calves were so big. Usually you see a guy 6'8", you think more of a basketball type of guy, you know?
Upper body more.
No, this guy
legs.
was big all over. He was just a monster. And I mean, his hands probably this much bigger than mine, you know? You shook his hand and you're just like, forget it, I don't even know how to shake your hand. You know? But again, just the sweetest guy.
Wow.
And he got picked up by the WCW and he wound up wrestling Hulk Hogan. You could look it up. His name is Jerry Toot. He was known as The Wall.
Wow.
He wrestled Hulk Hogan. And he actually got up from Hulk Hogan's famous leg drop.
Oh.
If you know wrestling, that's a big deal.
Yes, yes.
Because not too many people ever got up from that. I think the Ultimate Warrior, they were trying to prime him to take over, but he didn't quite work out. And they were trying to get Jerry to take over. Wow. And then right around that time, the most unfortunate thing happened to Jerry. The WWE bought out the WCW.
Right.
And they didn't pick Jerry's contract. And I heard Jerry, as sweet as he was, he had an addictive personality. He got into some drugs and stuff like that. And he wound up in some Japanese circuit. And he died of a heroin overdose in some hotel somewhere, you know. And I didn't hear about it till years later. I was just like, wow, that was depressing. You know, but we had another guy, Big Joe. He was another monstrous dude. He was 6'6", 520 pounds. Again, sweetest guy ever. You know, just
all
the
these
greatest
big guys
guy.
there.
He'd
like,
come in at 12 o'clock late with 2 pizza pies for everybody in his hand. You know, he used to see.
oh, that's a good dude. Oh, that's awesome.
And when he moved at you, it was like one of the walls was coming at
That's
you.
crazy. So if I was in a bar and we got these, what are there, 4 of your friends?
There was 4 of these guys that were that big, yeah. And,
So
and
I'd
other
be-
ones were my friends who were also big, you know. They were big guys, but they weren't bouncing. 2 of them were cops.
Right.
Rich Tolko, he was another big dude. He was like 6'3", you know, 240 pounds, another big dude. They were all big. I mean, that's what I say. Not only were they big, but they were so much stronger than I was. You know, I mean, I used to weightlift, and I was nothing
Compared to those guys.
These guys were just so powerful, you know.
But they didn't know when they wanted to mess with all the bouncers. They're looking at you. You're not the guy they want to
Well,
mess
I was
with.
the one who actually knew how to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
so it was kind of funny because they enjoyed that. They loved that, you know, because when it came time to fight, I was good to go.
Right.
And they knew that. And we would play around on the side, you know. Everybody, you know, Big Jerry, and he wanted to try me out in the worst way. He was like, yeah, you do that greasy stuff. Let's see. And one night he tried me out.
Oh, really?
We were closing the bar together down the road, and I was just sweeping up. And next thing I know, Jerry just pushes me, and I went flying. I mean, this guy is huge. He's so strong. I went flying. He's like, all right, let's go. You and me right now. Let's see what you really know. So I'm like, all right, let's go. So I dove in on him, and I got next to him, and I went for the takedown. It's really funny because his hip was on my chest. He was so big, you know? So I did get him down, but I couldn't roll him over because he was so big. So he started coming right back up on top.
Oh my God.
So he was coming back up in my guard, and I inverted my guard and dragged his arm and went out sideways and caught him in an arm lock, and he was screaming with his face first down like this. And from then on, he was like, son of a bitch, man. He goes, I don't believe you did that to me.
That's crazy.
He was huge. He was just huge, but he didn't know. He'd never seen it before. So
Right.
he was just so respectful after that. I was like, man, I gotta hand it to you, man. That was great. He did.
That's amazing. That's cool.
And I was even amazed. I was like, Jesus Christ, because honestly, he's scary, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh
He's
yeah.
a scary dude. I tried arm wrestling him once. Dude, he blew me away. Like there was nothing. And I was a good arm wrestler.
You were over the top on him and stuff
I was
too?
a good arm wrestler. I really was. I beat a lot of big, strong, powerful guys. I mean, when I said I had no chance against Jerry, I had no chance. I mean, it was just murder. And I've never been handled like that.
Wow.
The way he probably felt on the ground is the way I felt. I knew I was going to lose just putting my hand up there. He was such a big dude. He was just such a big dude,
Wow.
But these guys, as big as they were, thank God, they were just sweethearts.
Yeah, exactly.
And it almost wasn't fair to teach Kevin, he was so big, to teach him how to fight too, because he was already a murderer.
Right, did you even need to?
He didn't need it, right?
Right.
But these are great guys. It was good times.
Don't you feel like?
But listen, it kept me grounded.
Yeah.
I never felt like when you said, you're a big guy. I know I'm a pretty big guy, but I never felt that way having that background and those kinds of things.
That's good though, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was good for me because I want to be able to deal with anybody, any size. I don't want to be looking at a guy and like, I can't handle him, he's too big.
Yes, exactly.
I've already handled some big guys. There's a guy who comes here named Little John. You haven't met him.
No, sir.
But he's 6. How big is Little John?
6'5", 450 pounds.
6'5", 450 pounds. Cool.
Little John.
And his calves, right?
Oh my goodness.
He looks like a bodybuilder. His calves are huge. Now, he's a heavy-set guy, no doubt about it, but he is a big, strong, powerful dude. And then when he wants to come forward towards you, you
can't stop him.
You can't stop him. You're just like, let me just kind of go to guard here. And you can't lock your legs.
You
just got to work open guard and just pray he doesn't kill you. He's just a big dude.
And do you think that made you a better martial artist, hanging out with people that are supposedly bigger guys?
I think it definitely helped. I think it definitely helped because I never ever go into this thinking I was a big guy. And I think that helped, just thinking I'm a small guy, working like a small guy. I think that's imperative to your technique. Because you could have two guys, you could have a bigger guy and a smaller guy, and the bigger guy may be getting by on muscle a little bit. The little guy, he can't get by on that. He's got to work that technique.
Yes, sir.
So now they meet another guy who's even bigger. Well, the big guy's screwed because now he's been cheating all this time, and he's been living on his strength, and now he found a stronger guy.
Yes, that's
The little guy actually now has a better chance of beating the bigger guy because he hasn't cheated, and his technique might still overcome that guy.
Right.
So that's the way I always felt about it. Like I picture myself if I have to fight a guy like Jerry.
Yeah.
I got to fight a big, monstrous guy. That's the way I look at it.
The technique is always going to go over strength.
Usually. I mean, there are times when strength overcomes.
True, absolutely.
There are times when they're that strong.
Like a third grader against like Teddy. I don't care how much he knows.
Teddy's a monster.
Teddy's a big guy.
He's like 270.
Oh yeah. And plus he's
look at the size of him. He's just thick.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking to him. He even wrestled Jimmy Lawson, who went to our school. He's now at AKA over in California. There's one more thing I wanted to ask you too. Do you think that do you feel like, this is a really weird question because I feel this way. I feel like if you learn striking martial arts, you have more catered to thinking you have a bigger ego. You can do sparring and always think you have a big head. But I feel like if you're tapped out every day and you've got the choke on you, and for some reason I feel like jiu-jitsu and grappling makes you more humble. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like just martial arts in general humble?
You can be humbled against a guy who can kill you in the ring too.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, you ever spar a guy who can outpoint you and just outbox you or outkick you? I mean, that's a tough thing too.
Absolutely.
That's also very humbling.
Absolutely.
So I think they're humbling in different ways. Neither one is that fun.
No, exactly.
But you could be owned on the mat. I mean, I was owned on the mat plenty of times when I was starting, and you got to feel that. You got to feel that helplessness.
Right.
To know that you want to learn it. To me, I tell guys who come in here, like, what you just felt, embrace it, because you'll be able to do that to somebody else someday.
Right.
If you could walk away right now and never see it again and just pretend it didn't happen, you're never going to be any good at it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, look, if you can hit, I've learned how to hit very hard. So there's guys like I sparred with, and they're like, man, don't hit that. We'll just go easy.
Interesting.
Because I just learned how to hit at a really good level. I just learned all the levels, how to get every ounce of my body into it. And I teach them how to do it then.
Who are your favorite, you said boxers, right? We know Mike Tyson's the one. You said Roberto Duran. What was the other ones?
Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard. I liked all the best. Marvin Allen. He was amazing. Sugar Ray Robinson, I watched a lot of old clips of him. Henry Armstrong. These guys were really amazing. Those were Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, Tommy Hearns too.
Tommy Hearns,
Guys
yeah,
are
yeah.
great.
So, yeah.
Lomachenko right now is amazing to watch.
Right.
And, more current guys.
Right.
Evander Holyfield, I love watching him.
He's always very good. Bernard Hopkins is one of my personal. I like
Bernard Hopkins, I liked a lot. I loved when he beat Trinidad.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my favorite
Right.
fights. I got a buddy of mine, and we used to watch. We were waiting to see somebody take out Trinidad. We thought Joppy was going to do it, and then Joppy got hurt. But I think Trinidad was cheating. Trinidad was getting some legal shit.
Yep.
Some glove. And if you remember, Bernard Hopkins, his trainer made him take his shit off before they fought. And he didn't seem to have that power against Bernard Hopkins.
Wow, right.
And Bernard Hopkins stopped him in later rounds. I forget which one, but she did stop him. But I was a big fan of the old time, the 70s heavyweights.
Right.
Frazier Ali. I think
Frazier
these guys.
Ali,
Foreman. Even Jimmy Young when he fought Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was like a big thing for me too.
Everybody loves Muhammad Ali.
Sure. Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton. I mean, those guys were just absolute killers. Absolute killers. I loved them. I was a big boxing fan. Always loved boxing. Yeah, a lot. I think in the late 80s, I mean, they had some good light heavyweights at the time. Gerald McClellan, who was a monster at the time. Julian Jackson. You could look at his knockouts today. He was one of the best knockout punchers of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Julian
Jackson. Yeah. Look him up.
I will.
After this, look him up. He's got a lot of knockouts. He had a lot of power.
Wow.
I think he fought around 170, 175.
So now we're going to talk about something else. Would you think, is it really all technique with power punching, or is it really anatomy a little bit?
It's partly anatomy because force is equal to mass times acceleration. So if you look at a guy like George Foreman, look at the size of his hands and his forearms, okay? So there's your mass, all right? Now, he wasn't the most technical puncher, but he had the mass. He had the big hands, he had the big forearms, so when all that mass came at you, it equaled the power, You look at guys like Mike Tyson, he had, big, but speed.
Yes.
He had that technique. He had that great. Look at Tommy Morrison's left hook. He had a beautiful left hook. I mean, he would whip his whole entire body around. You couldn't get any more out of Tommy Morrison's left hook than he had. He was one of the best left hookers in the business.
And that's hard.
Hard left hook. Not as big as masses like a George Foreman, but he could really whip it. So when you found a guy, Ernie Shavers, he probably was one of the hardest hitters in boxing history because he had a lot of power, a lot of speed, and I mean not crazy speed. It wasn't like Muhammad Ali fast, but Muhammad Ali was a buzzsaw. He was so fast.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that mass. He had that quickness. Fast, but didn't have that mass to make him a real killer knockout puncher. But I do believe that everybody says. I guess it's one of my most hated sayings about boxing, that they say punchers are born. I don't buy that for a second, okay? I don't buy that for a second. I think punchers naturally do things that make you a better puncher naturally.
Yeah,
They just naturally have better technique because you could be taught how to punch.
Right. I was going to say, you see a lot of MMA guys, and that's really why I asked you that question. You're like, he's a volume puncher, but he has no knockout power. He doesn't have the power to and I'm always thinking in my head from what I was taught, your technique's off. You got to be doing something wrong, because I believe there's a way to knock. You could be a power. You don't have to be a power puncher, but you can totally get a technique enough to knock somebody out. There will be points you're hitting, it'll be your speed, and I just think you listen to a lot of these commentators. You're like, no, some guys are, some guys aren't. I don't believe that.
Liam McGeary, he was the light heavyweight champion in Bellator. He's a friend of ours.
Okay.
He used to come here every once in a while, and I brought him to the bag one day. And as hard as he hits, I made him hit harder.
Wow.
Absolutely, And I don't know what he remembers from what I taught him, but you see, he had a lot of knockout power. He brought it into the ring, it was good. But it seems like people sometimes learn these things but then forget them. So he did have, I watched him hit the bag. I let him start. I said, just throw a left hook. Let's see what it looks like. Overhand right. Let's see what it looks like. And then I would show him some things, and I'll be damned if he didn't hit harder right then and there. You could see the light bulb go on all the time, right over their heads when they're like, yeah. And I get this comment a lot. Their wrists hurt because they've never hit that hard before. And if their wrists are a little off, I mean, let's face it, they're hitting a cylinder. So if they're a little in front or a little in back, their wrists take the shock. So if they're used to hitting it only so much, all of a sudden they're hitting a lot harder. Now their wrist may turn a little bit and their wrists get hurt. So I always tell them, if I teach you a class in hitting, you should wrap your hands and really tighten your gloves good, because I'm guaranteeing you're probably never going to hit this hard.
Right.
It's a different feel.
Monday I'll bring my wraps. I have my gloves with me, but if you're telling me I need wraps, I bring them. I'd be more than
I just,
glad to.
listen, that's up to you. I don't make anybody do it. I advise them to do it. I don't make anybody do anything.
Well, it is smart. I have a 250 bag at my house. I have to wrap my hands with it too. It's not smart.
Yeah.
It's smart to do it.
And if I'm right, and I do make you hit harder, you do stand a chance of hurting your wrist.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always looking to hit harder and improve, so that's really interesting. I definitely would love that. Anything? What is like a unique? Before I like just end this straight up, is there anything like you think philosophy-wise in martial arts that you take with you every day, like something specific to you, not like general, like yin yang. No, like something to you that you
You know
take
what?
from
I think what it gives me is it just gave me a nice self-confidence. I know that any situation I get into, I can handle myself. You know?
Never afraid
I always
anywhere.
like teaching my kids that. You don't have to fear anybody. If you know what you're doing, you're going to be just fine. It gives you that self-confidence that you just can't buy anywhere.
Absolutely.
You really know that, hey, you know what? I can get in a fight. See that guy? He's 6'6", 300 pounds. I could fight him.
Right.
Not a problem. It wouldn't even be a problem. And he probably wouldn't answer me.
What do you think?
That's how a lot of us feel.
You want that confidence.
Yeah.
You want that to live every day so you can feel like there's no threat. Everybody look at the news, look how much there's fear everywhere. What do
You
you
can
think
protect
about
your family, your friends, you don't have any problems with that. When I go out, if I go to a weird
Right.
country or whatever,
Yes.
I'm going on vacation, I don't sweat anybody, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
Now, chances are I could run into Cain Velasquez out in the street somewhere, that would really suck, but
Although his knees aren't the best.
Let's
so maybe
say
it's
the chances are not good that you're going to run into somebody that's going to really be able to kick your ass.
True.
It's still not really out there.
Right.
Just a few of us really understand.
What do you think about the kids today who are on a computer so much, and you see all these school shootings and like these kind of weird socialists? They're more apt to not talk to anybody and be more into their phone and games. Do you feel like more than ever, maybe martial arts should be, used to help these kids, like when you get in a fight?
Well, that's just anything. That's not just martial arts. I mean, anything they do to get them out of the house these days. My kids are into wrestling, football, dancing.
Your kids are normal. But I'm talking about kids that are like...
They watch too much. My middle son watches too much of the videos, but he's starting to watch more informative videos now, which I kind of like.
That's good.
He plays football, so he's watching how to do football now. He's watching football because I'm not good at football. I could play, but I don't understand the game. I can't talk like I could talk shot put fighting. I don't know,
Same.
and I don't try.
Same. Me too.
He knows more about football than I do, and he's 14. So, but he's learning. I like the fact that he's learning. But there are times where he just plays some video games. My older son, he's got the phone, but it's not girls.
Oh, yeah. That's another drug.
That's another one,
Sorry, yes,
My daughter, she likes it, but she likes dance, so she watches a lot of dance videos. She likes that musically stuff, whatever they do.
Musicals?
No, they make little music videos.
It's now TikTok.
It's TikTok. It's that app.
Well, that's what it's called now, but it was called Musically.
Right.
Right?
So you know Tech Man.
See, I know this because I got a
that's
12-year-old
right.
daughter.
Yeah,
so Otherwise, I would have no idea what they're talking about. I barely use Facebook, so.
Any of your sons or daughters, do they partake in trying to learn anything?
Oh yeah, both my sons, they do this stuff.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I've been teaching them, so they understand. My older son is a wrestler too, so he's going to give his last shot in Jackson Memorial senior year. We'll see how he does at wrestling.
That's great. Yeah, Jackson's a really good school.
Yeah.
I was at Manchester. It's not a great school. It's funny. You said you went to a place where you didn't know how to wrestle. It's kind of what mine was, maybe a little better. I actually was a better wrestler after I got done wrestling. I was like a deer in the headlights. But, it's like anything else in your experiences, you know what I mean? Sometimes stuff you don't do well, afterwards you're like, oh, something just clicks. That's how that works.
You know what's funny? Back when I was teaching Rhino days, Jay Coleman probably taught me more about wrestling than most anybody.
Wow.
He was a really good wrestler, and he used to train with Frankie a lot. And he took the time to show me the proper shots and all that kind of stuff. And I learned a lot. I listened to him. Like I taught him how to grapple and punch and all that kind of stuff. But just pure wrestling, he really taught me a lot that I needed to know. So it was nice to have that kind of background now. I mean, listen, I'm never going to be a pure wrestler. It's just never going to happen. But I've grappled with plenty of wrestlers, and I know what they do. I know how they react,
Right.
And I'm confident in wrestlers.
Well, it's weird for me because I'm like, oh, catch wrestling. I'm like, this guy's got to be like, maybe he's predominantly a wrestler. You know, that's what went through my mind when I was looking. I'm like, maybe. But then you told me like, yeah, a little bit, but you have more of a traditional martial arts background more than a wrestler.
Yeah, but I love, don't get me wrong, I love the wrestling too. I mean, I watch a lot of it, and every time I watch wrestling moves, I find another submission. You know, like whatever they're doing, how they get the guys down there, I'm going, oh, well, there's a leg lock right there.
Right.
They don't know it,
Right.
you know, but I remember, you know, just stupid stuff like, you know, referee position?
Yes, sir. Of course.
Get in referee position. And me and Frank Yeager went over this. So put your hands, you're putting your hands up, right? So they used to do something where you'd reach in and grab this. And I said, wow, that's awesome. You reach in and grab this, and come right around and finish right here.
How'd you do that?
See, because as soon as you grab this, you can reach right around through here. Whether I get this or not, I just roll it in.
Right.
It's so simple. It's awesome. Yeah, because you're right there.
Yep.
You know?
And then they told me it's
Just like
three-quarter.
crossface where you just pull
They told me that power half or three-quarter, I'm not even sure what it is, but right from here, this pulls you right into a way to finish people. You got the Kimura, and you got this, which I developed a lot.
It's a neck crank.
It's a neck crank, but it's really nice. And when I do it from here, I move my chest forward, so that really messes you up.
Bulldog? Half Nelson? Okay. Gotta get that. Right.
But you see what I mean? That's an example of wrestling moves that I love it, you know, and I can turn that into submissions.
That's so cool.
And that one actually I did with Frank Yeager. He, you know, we were doing this drill, and you pull that far hand, and I'm like, oh, watch, Frankie. You come around the other side.
Beautiful.
You know, it just works. It just works.
So you learn, that's crazy, because like I'd be like, oh man, this guy's gotta learn more from jiu-jitsu competitions, or maybe watching Abu Dhabi or something, but wrestling, I would never guess.
You can turn a submission into, you know, it happens in the strangest places, but wrestlers, they get at the legs a lot too. So remember what I like to do, I like to do leg locks. Well, what are wrestlers good at?
Leg locking. They have a good
Not good at leg
not
locking, they're good at taking your legs. They're good at getting you to your back and having your legs.
Leg attacking, I meant.
Leg attacks,
That's what I
sure.
meant, sorry.
You know? So you look at some of their leg attacks and you're like, man, the stuff they do, I love it.
Right.
But they don't finish like I finish. You know? Like you see, you ever know, you're a wrestler, you said? You know what running the pipe is?
Yeah, when you're doing a takedown, the single leg.
Yeah, when you do a single leg running the pipe, right? I'll show you one more. We'll end it right there, okay? I'll show you one more. This is a wrestling move that I love. I was taught, maybe even by Jay Coleman, how to run the pipe. All right? So watch. This is great. You got somebody against the cage or even right here. So you run into here, right? And this is running the pipe.
Right.
You get your shot and bow. Yep. Right? And then they go and wrestle. Right?
Exactly.
All right.
That one I know.
Now let's do it my way. Okay? So I'm going to run the pipe. Come here. Boom. Turn you over and break your knee.
Oh, that's fucking crazy. That's awesome.
So now you've got a guy, MMA fighter. You're here, you're fighting, you're against the cage. You come in here, boom. And you just finish.
Whew.
And when have you seen that in MMA?
No. See what's funny? I seen that more in pro wrestling. The whole, what was it called, crabber or whatever? Boston crab.
Right. But that's not actually the Boston crab. That's actually a knee separator.
Because those are two legs or something.
Mike, have a care. See you, Mike. I'll see you on
Mike,
Friday.
hey,
Right?
man.
Matt, take it easy.
Yep, the two.
Yeah, that's like a knee separator.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, you're right. How one move goes off of the neck.
Have a good one.
You know what I'm saying? And if they don't show me run the pipe, I don't come up with that.
Right. That's awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for this interview. And
Anytime, man. Nice meeting you guys.
yeah, definitely.